for optimal iron status, the emerging paradigm.
Good morning. So today my topic is going to be a little hypothetical based on some of the observations we made in cell culture, which are very exciting to me, and I'll try and pass on some of that excitement to some of you in the audience. The topic is zinc required for iron status, which I believe is emerging paradigm. Okay. Iron is a type 1 nutrient, which essentially means during deficiency, the biochemical markers of iron will come down, such as hemoglobin, which represents anemia, and then ferritin and then transferrin, which represents iron status. Whereas for zinc, it is conserved in the body. That is, the biochemical levels will not change until the functional deficit starts appearing. For example, zinc deficiency leads to first stunting, followed by decline in serum zinc status. Therefore, there is no specific biomarker, but at a population level, if population is consuming high phytic acid diet, such as vegetarian diet, and if there is high prevalence of stunting and anemia, or serum zinc content less than 70 microgram per dl, if it is very high, in epidemiological studies, they indirectly tell us that there is a risk of zinc deficiency among population. If you take the case in India, we know that anemia is a problem, and one of this paper published by my former boss says that the intakes will not correlate with iron anemia prevalence among Indians across the different states, and the bioavailability of iron somewhere relates to the prevalence of anemia. Therefore, improving iron intake should reduce anemia in India. But if you look at meta-analysis of epidemiological studies, they say that iron supplementation increases HB levels in children, but it comes with a rider that modestly. And it also says there is something other than iron that may be operating to limit hemoglobin response and anemia control. These are meta-analysis of multiple studies. And on the other hand, there is no strong evidence on improvements of growth, morbidity, birth outcomes, cognition in India and or in other developing countries. There are, but there is no strong evidence. There are isolated evidences to suggest improvements in growth, etc. But there is no strong evidence yet in India. Therefore, something other than that, there is a problem. That's what I want to highlight. When you come to the zinc deficiency, population level, plasma zinc level is the best bioavailable marker so far. And these are the different studies published in India which show from about 1% to 68, 70% plasma zinc deficiency in different physiological groups, which in itself indicates there is probably zinc deficiency in India, and that high phytate content, high stunting, and high prevalence of anemia reassures that probably there is zinc deficiency. And there is also bioavailable zinc content among the diets is very low. This is a NNMB dietary intake data secondary analysis, and the inadequacy of zinc is almost 90 to 80% among children. And therefore, the idea is to supplement iron and zinc together. But when you supplement iron and zinc together, the seminal paper published in 70s by Dr. Solomons says they do interact negatively. And that's a problem that continued for a long time. Even today, it remains a question whether to supplement iron and zinc together, or is it okay to supplement them separately. But if you compile all the data, it shows that there is a marginal negative effect of zinc on ferritin compared to iron alone groups, but they never showed a strong difference in hemoglobin response. And we know ferritin is a degradation product, tissue degradation product circulating in the plasma, though we use it as iron. On the other hand, if you supplement just zinc, some of the studies show a positive impact on iron status. Mind you, these are not iron zinc supplementation, they are just supplementing zinc, but they do find a positive impact of zinc on iron status. And a recent, very recent study, not very recent, but the study attempted to deliver iron and zinc with a 1 hour time gap. As you can see in the second lane, in the iron and zinc group, all the hematological indicators are higher than iron alone group, which is contrary to what we believe iron and zinc interact negatively. And even when you combine vitamin A and iron and zinc group, there is no difference. That means zinc alone has a positive impact on hematological indices in response to iron supplement. So then we are interested, we are biochemists working in the lab, we are interested in understanding mechanisms, what's going on. Then there is no cursor working, it's a problem for me, but you can see there is a transporter called DMT1 that transports iron into the intestinal cells, and there is another transporter called FPN, that is ferroportin, which transports iron that is taken up by the enterocytes into the systemic circulation. And once that iron goes through the circulation through transferrin, it is taken up by transferrin receptor cycle through receptor endocytosis. Again, DMT1 throws that iron into the cell, which is stored inside the liver or any other tissue. The dietary zinc is absorbed in the intestinal cells through a protein called ZIP4, and the fractional zinc absorption is related to zinc status. For example, if you have zinc deficiency, the fractional zinc absorption goes up because the ZIP4 expression goes up. I think this is important for the next topic to understand. A study by King's College London in 2001 by Dr. Paul Sharp group, who is very much with us today, shows that zinc increases intestinal iron absorption by increasing DMT1 and ferroportin expression. And he also shows that the iron transport across intestinal cells increases. But we wanted to ask another question. If you treat the cells with zinc and then look at what is the impact on interaction. And this is a study in NIN we have done a decade ago, shows when you supplement iron and zinc, the first bar graph, when you supplement iron and zinc together at different molar ratios, there is, as the zinc concentration increases, there is dose-dependent decrease in iron absorption, which beyond doubt shows that there is an interaction. However, but there is no impact of iron on zinc absorption. However, when you treat the cells first with zinc and then add iron or iron and zinc together, you start finding higher iron absorption and the interactions are lost. So we have also shown that the bands there shows with zinc there is rapid induction of DMT1. Based on these results, we conclude that there are two transporters on the intestinal cell surface. One is some X transporter which we have not yet identified. It transports both iron and zinc, whereas DMT1 transports iron. But when you treat those cells with zinc, probably the X transporter gets internalized, whereas the iron transporter, that is DMT1 expression, goes up. Therefore, you start finding reduction in interactions, at the same time improvements in iron absorption. And this is a collaborative study between NIN and King's College. We characterize the mechanisms by knocking down the genes DMT1 and IRP2. We have at least understood the mechanisms. But the NIN philosophy is so what? You are saying that zinc increases intestinal iron absorption. You know what is the mechanisms, but so what? This is the hard question to face, but we often do that in NIN. Then what is the source, in vivo source of zinc for intestinal cells? As you see, the fecal zinc excretion is a major excretion pathway for the zinc. Under normal zinc status, The intake equals to the excretion. It's very well known fact. So what we thought is during zinc deficiency, there is reductions in pancreatic zinc, and the pancreatic zinc concentration is phenomenally high. It's about close to 100 micromolar, considering 2 liters of juice, 12 mg intake, plus about 25 micromoles, 15 to 25 micromoles genuine pancreatic zinc concentration. So therefore, we hypothesize that less pancreatic zinc, we hypothesize that the pancreatic zinc, since it is high, it primes the intestine to take up more iron. In that case, during zinc deficiency, the pancreatic zinc should come down. And as you can see, this is very old paper, but you can see the other dots there. As the zinc concentration increases, the pancreatic zinc content goes up. This itself shows that the pancreatic zinc content or juice content is in tune with the systemic zinc status. Therefore, we believe that there is underlying zinc deficiency that reduces pancreatic zinc and thus limits intestinal iron absorption. And we know there is something called acrodermatitis enteropathica, which is a ZIP4 mutation. And when you do the ectomy of pancreas, they start showing up symptoms of acrodermatitis enteropathica, which in turn suggests that pancreas is essential for maintaining zinc homeostasis in human subjects. If you assume that we have shown multiple times that the DMT1 is induced by zinc, and zinc status, at least pancreatic, we have also seen that the pancreas is essential for maintaining zinc status. But if there is a zinc deficiency, then what should theoretically happen is the DMT1, FPN1 expression should go down in different cells. That should ultimately manifest in iron deficiency anemia and tissue iron overload. And the conditions that I set is, if that is so, then the zinc deficiency and the zinc deficiency caused by specific mutation in zinc transporter, and the iron deficiency caused by DMT1 mutation, which is specific for iron, should have superimposable changes on whole body iron homeostasis. And also, the iron status in some way zinc status in some way related to the human iron metabolism. We'll go on, just a couple of minutes, we'll see that. This is a study in experimental rats. If you see, as the dietary zinc concentration comes down, the hemoglobin dose dependently comes down and the RBC number comes down, both in females and males. And the plasma zinc and copper also comes down. This essentially shows zinc is essential for maintaining iron status. And these are pair-fed rats. The problem with zinc deficiency in experimental animals is the diet intake comes down. Therefore, these are the pair-fed rats, so that problem is not there. And if you look at during zinc deficiency, what happens to the tissue iron levels, you can see there are multiple evidences to show that there is liver accumulation of iron during zinc deficiency. But I selected this slide because if you put them on zinc deficient diet, you can see, at least across all tissues, there is iron content is increasing. And as you supplement zinc, the iron content in the liver is coming down. Most of the tissues it is coming down. And this is also true in the cell culture models. Same thing is happening. These are adipocytes, the left side, right side. For you, it's the right side. That also shows in the cell culture. And also a ZIP4 mutation in humans leads to, I said, acrodermatitis enteropathica, which is always associated with iron deficiency anemia. The same thing what they have done, the ZIP4 mutation, ZIP4 knockdown in the intestinal cells. You see, these are conditional knockout. After day 4 and day 8 of knockout, you see there is accumulation of iron in the liver. And the same thing happens in DMT1 mutations, where you find there is iron deficiency anemia and there is accumulation of iron, as shown by the histology. And there are multiple DMT mutations, shows there is liver iron overload and iron deficiency anemia. And there are human studies that show that iron deficiency is associated with zinc status. For example, IDA patients have less zinc compared to the healthy controls. And the serum ferritin, MCV, and RDW relates very closely with the serum zinc. And this study shows, in fact, plasma zinc is the more stronger predictor of hemoglobin levels compared to plasma ferritin RCR. And if you look at this is a large study comparing serum zinc versus hemoglobin levels, which shows a curve shows very high association between hemoglobin, and towards your right it is iron, but if you look at the slope of those curves, zinc appears to have a better slope, better, stronger prediction compared to the iron alone. Therefore, the summary is zinc enhances iron absorption. Just a few seconds. But we do need a sensitive biomarker that predicts zinc deficiency to address this in human studies. But at the end, I want to ask, why should zinc modulate iron status? What is its physiological or functional advantage? The first thing is zinc is an antioxidant, iron is an accident. There needs to be a balance. And the seminal studies by Janet King and Michael Hampich shows zinc deficiency reduces growth, BMR, protein turnover, essentially blocks new tissue building, leading to stunting. When tissue functions, growth are reduced, the requirements of iron are theoretically reduced. If so, supplementing zinc deficient subjects with iron alone should lead to its malabsorption, tissue iron overload, oxidative stress, etc. And again, I leave it with the question that I will be pursuing for the rest of my life. Is zinc status is required for improving iron absorption? Thank you so much.
So much for this very interesting presentation, and for those where the topic is new, we know now much more about the relation between zinc and iron. Is there any questions from the audience? We have time, 4 minutes of time for questions, and I think it would be really nice to have some discussion.
In this whole story, where does hepcidin stand? What's happening to the hepcidin? Is something happening or nothing is happening to hepcidin?
Normally, that's a good question, because zinc is anti-inflammatory. Therefore, hepcidin levels, at least inflammation should come down during zinc deficiency. Zinc deficiency, hepcidin levels also will go up. Therefore, iron absorption may be blocked. That's another way of looking at it. But there is still, I personally don't believe that hepcidin blocks intestinal iron absorption. That's what leads to.
Thank you. So interesting. A big lesson too in chemistry. But could you speak about the food matrix and the interaction with bioavailability?
Yes.
Iron and zinc when people take food?
Yes. Actually, the same phytic acid that inhibits iron absorption also inhibits zinc absorption. Therefore, it's very difficult to interpret the data of a relationship between zinc and iron status, because those patients with IDA probably consuming more phytic acid, and they are bound to have less zinc in the circulation. Therefore, all my studies, if you look at, I'm basing on animal studies, mutations, etc., but not on the clinical studies, is simply because of the fact that the phytic acid inhibits both of them. Therefore, comparing the associations in human subjects is very risky. Is that clear?
Morning, all of you. This Raghu is a nice piece of work, but generally the supplementation programs. So, supplementation programs, we are recommending some 9 micronutrients, including zinc. So, any nutrient interaction within the supplementation?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You can go ahead.
My boss wants to.
It's a good presentation, and my question is regarding heme ion. Okay, I mean, if you are thinking that the interaction is at absorption level, I don't think it's only that; it's beyond also, right?
Yes, yes.
So
Because
you don't expect any interaction when it's a heme ion.
it does, because even if you supplement iron, goes into the liver. It goes into the liver and just stays there. It won't come out.
That's what I mean. One is at the absorption level, other one is at tissue level.
Since it is a
Which
heme iron.
is the most predominant one in your interaction studies? Because I know you have studied only at the intestinal level, absorption site.
But as I said, if zinc is important for DMT1 expression, even in the liver, heme iron, there is no problem with absorption, so it goes and sits in the liver, but it will not come from there. And in other words, the heme iron consumption is very less.
And other question is there a appropriate molar ratio that you can probably titrate and find out so that supplementation can be both of iron and zinc supplementation can be planned?
Most of these interactions are shown when they are either given in water or in a cola. But if you give it with food matrix, at least up to 10:1 there is no interaction.
Well, thank you, Dr. Raju, for this very interesting presentation, and thank you also for the discussion.
With permission of chair, I would request one of the speakers, Ms. Radhika from National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad, to please come out of the dais. A round of applause, please.
May I ask Dr.